When animals are your livelihood, keeping them happy and comfortable is a part of the job. Today we're exploring one of the many ways that dairy farmers prioritize animal welfare to keep the farm profitable and productive. Jeff Glass joins us from Best Footing, Concrete, and Grooving out of Strum. His job is to make sure cows don't slip on wet concrete or hurt their feet on surfaces that are too rough. He says barn floors encounter a lot of wear and tear, water, and manure, so slipping can be common if there's no traction.
Just years of scraping it with the rubber tire or steel bucket, and then manure on it gets wet. Concrete just kind of wears down and gets smooth, and this machine puts a groove in it or textures it so that it keeps the cows from slipping, which works really good because when they push off with their back feet, a cow walks laterally with their back feet. They push off, so then that's how they do the split. So this groove keeps that from happening.
We talk a lot about cow comfort and the work that a farmer puts in to make sure their cows are happy and comfortable. Grooving a floor is part of that, and I almost think of it like we don't want our shower floors to be slippery. We like to have some texture there.
Right, exactly, yeah. And if a cow's not comfortable, they're not going to eat as much. They're not going to go to the bunk. They have to walk quite a ways to the parlor, to get milked. So you want them comfortable. They'll see more heat detections because cows, don't want to ride on each other or things. So, you want them comfortable coming in and out of the stall, going to eat. So, it really is a valuable service. It really helps.
Cows know, like you said, they're smart animals, so if they're not comfortable walking across the floor, you will see limited activity.
Oh, yeah, yep. It's like us walking on ice. You walk real tentative, and a lot of cattle avoid areas that are really slippery because they've fallen there before, so they'll walk around areas. So, yeah, there's a lot of improvement in cow comfort if they can walk and are stable on the floor.
It's not just one groove fits all, right? There's different styles of grooving to concrete that may work in different areas of the barn.
Yeah, yep, that's exactly right. I can do a 3/4 inch square cut groove every 3 inches apart. And like the corners or where they're a heavy traffic area, you might want to cross groove it or go a different direction. Now, a lot of barns have grooves in it that they bull floated in already, and they'll work for a while sometimes, but then they'll slip in between the grooves, and then I can do what they call a mini grooving, where you cut little lines in between it just to break up that flat surface between the grooves. So both have a good application. It just depends on what's on the farm and what works, but they both work really good. I do a lot of both of them. So,
are there certain areas in the barn that need grooves more than others? Like if you're going to prioritize certain areas, or do you recommend the whole floor?
It all depends on the place. Like holding pens or heavy traffic areas tend to get slippery. If the skid steer's scraping across an area more than down the length of a barn, that might wear out. Crossovers where they're turning corners, feed bunks, where they're standing at the feed bunk eating. A lot of times it's not the one that's standing there eating, but it's the cow that's walking behind her that'll push on her and things. So generally the whole barn kind of needs it, but there's usually areas where I go to that are worse than others, generally.
The barn floor is not often dry.
No, it's not. No, there's manure on it, and it's wet, and cows are pretty messy, so things get slippery.
How often do you need to get it touched up?
There's some every 10 years or so. You may have to. Some maybe a little less, and some more. It kind of depends on the concrete and what they have going on. For cattle, if they're cattle, sometimes help. Pushing them more. They might get a little more slippery. Depends on how often you scrape it. Most places it's going to be twice a day that they're scraping it. Sand bedding compared to mats, can make a difference too, on the floor. So it's kind of just all over the map of how long it lasts. But generally about 10 years is, about general.
Are dairy farms your bread and butter, or do you recommend other livestock species get this similar treatment?
A lot of cattle lots, feed lots, they'll get it done too, feedlot things. Pigs, I've done some for hogs too. They're a smaller groove, but mostly dairy cattle it's what it's for.
Taking it back to the beginning for us, over the years you've been doing this, give us a success story, a farm that's really seen improvement in the herd thanks to the grooves.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of them. There's been a lot. Even there's a new barn. They were going from 2 tie stall barns to a freestall barn, a new facility, a new parlor and everything. And they actually bull floated the grooves in the concrete, and it was too rough. Like the cows, they were going to really hurt their feet on it. And I had to go in and actually try and smooth the concrete out a little bit. And it was just too rough. That's been 20 years ago, and he's still, whenever I see them, they're still like, that saved me, because he wouldn't have been able to have any cows going from a tie stall into a free stall. He was going to have troubles normally anyway, but with that kind of a thing. So I go to the same farms a lot of times once a year and do some more, they add on to it something. So yeah, there's been a lot of those farms.
Not too slippery, not too rough. That barn floor has got to be just right to provide traction and reduce animal stress. Jeff Glass joining us from Best Footing Concrete and Grooving out of Strum. One of the examples of how dairy farmers prioritize animal welfare on the farm. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff.